Instead of asking who do I want to be in 3 years or what are my big goals for 3 years, is what would I consider a failure 3 years from today?
I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it
All right, Nate, today's episode will be getting into what we call a perfect exit and different types of ways to go about starting a business, building a business, and exiting a business. And we both had conversations in the last 24 hours with different founders with completely different businesses. And there's one phrase that stuck with me several years ago. I wrote it down, and it was, I'll speak for me. I was having a hard time visualizing who do I want to be in 3 years? What do I want to be doing? What does my future look like? Who am I going to be? What's our business going to be in 3 to 5 years? And there was just a small frame changer for me, which was instead of asking who do I want to be in 3 years or what are my big goals for 3 years, is what would I consider a failure 3 years from today? And that question for me of what would I consider a failure was so much easier for me to answer. And I think it took me 3 days of going 3 walks around my neighborhood. And one was financial. I had a couple personal ones, a couple business ones, and a couple family ones. And I don't know, it was just so much easier for me to think about because we have a million goals. And for me to really just boil it down to, man, if these things are not true in 3 years, I will consider that a failure today. So I'm curious, have you ever gone through that similar exercise, or are you someone that can just nail, here's my goals in 3 years, 5 years, and you just execute?
No, 100% not. And I remember you going through that exercise as a 3-year vision, 5-year vision. And for me, even looking out 12 months into the distance was a lot to ask for. But I do feel like it's easier to define what failure would look like more so
Yeah.
than success that you haven't achieved yet, because that picture isn't totally clear. It's hard to define that. But
Yeah.
what we're really talking about is exit alignment with partners, with yourself, specifically for the business side of things. You want me to jump into my scenario, Brad?
Yeah, let's do it. And maybe just we'll set the stage for the perfect exit, which again, going back to Dan Martell's SaaS Academy, I think that's one of his taglines is they help founders achieve their perfect exit. And the perfect exit can mean 100 different things to 100 different people. Could be lifestyle business, could be you build and sell, could be raise and go public, whatever it might be. So maybe just to set that stage and share some conversations and what we're seeing today. So yeah, go ahead with your first story. You're up.
Yeah. So I got connected with a young founder who's starting his business. Let's say he's under 25, and he has jumped right into fundraising because that is the accepted practice, or what he sees to be the norm, as a way to cash flow your business, find product market fit, and just buy you enough time for your business to get profitable. And he was connected with me by a mutual friend because Elevar's Bootstrap, we talked about that for a while, and he's just curious, like, well, wait a second, how were you able to bootstrap, and what was it like? So maybe we can talk a little bit, Brad. I know you were much more at the helm of Elevar as far as bootstrapping. You've got a really unique view on the pros and the cons of bootstrapping your business. And maybe we can talk about that scenario that we're fresh coming out of, and then use that to frame a little bit of some of the pros and cons on fundraising, because it definitely is a great lever if you know what you're getting into.
Yeah. The cons for sure for me personally are things are just they can take longer. So they're going to take longer than if you were just potentially to inject a bunch of cash in a business, go hire your senior leaders across every department and let that run. But there are cons associated to that as well. So, but I think in general, bootstrapping a business, it's going to take a little bit longer to get going. The stress on the founders and the leadership, because the reality is the early years when you're not making any money and you are trying to find product market fit or even customer market fit, is you are going to be poor. You are not going to make money. I mean, poor relative to this conversation, not necessarily relative to the world, but I recall our first couple of years, I was paying myself less than $10,000, and then it got to maybe $30,000, and much of that was coming from Upwork. But I think those are probably two of the biggest cons. And a third one is, and just for context, I've been around hundreds of founders in SaaS Academy and SaaS Boardroom and in the Shopify world, and other Shopify founders just talking. And it's a spread of founders that have raised tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, to a few that have gone public, to others that are very small, bootstrapped, and others that are lifestyle businesses. So I think I have a good perspective on the range. But one of the other cons that has stood out to me as well is by being bootstrapped, you are, by nature of bootstrapping, you are cash strapped. And that can make it very challenging to essentially buy top talent. Now, that's where, as a founder, building an environment, building a culture where top talent is drawn to you, they're attracted to the business, the opportunity, the potential upside for them that might be a little bit bigger, and the values of the business. So as a bootstrap business, we could apply our own values, healthy life and GSD and detail oriented and friendliness, etc. So those are a few of the cons that come off the top of my head. I'm curious, where do they land with you? And before we get into the pros.
Yeah, so the cons on the bootstrapping side is the amount of runway time-wise that it takes to get to the same amount of growth, that if you're ready to receive investment, you're going to accelerate past that. And this timing bit is, we talked about that all the time, is someone going to come out with a competitive product that is well funded, and they're going to be able to move so much more quickly, and you've kind of missed your moment in the marketplace. That's a key piece of it. Like, yes, you're giving up equity when you're receiving funding, and that's a huge negative, because that pie is going to become very big conceivably down the road, and you're going to feel that discomfort. So you're going to feel discomfort no matter what. If you're a founder, it's either early on the discomfort of managing cash flow if you're bootstrapped and all the pressures that creates, or you're going to feel that discomfort at the acquisition table because you look at what 1 to 10, 15, 20% has grown into. So what you got to realize is that there's no such thing as a comfortable founding process. It's going to be a lot of challenges and a lot of obstacles. Those parts of the equation need to be considered. And if you can manage your overhead initially, I think that's key. So I think, Brad, you made some really, really smart moves about having a distributed team and just removing that overhead pressure. You were able to go out and hire a key employee versus, signing a lease and paying for an office initially for Elevor. And I think that alone really helped. So there's some of these minor moves as you're getting going. If you can really manage your cash flow and try to be, profitable by reducing your overhead, if your revenue's not high, I think that's going to be a huge player there and a huge piece. And, obviously down the road, if you're able to go get fundraising later and your cash flow and your profitability looks better, you're not going to have to give up as much equity. And that part of the discomfort, that's going to hurt a little bit less when you come to the acquisition table.
No rentals. Yeah, no rentals. Any SaaS tool that we're using, no long-term contracts, no annual prepayments, no quarterly prepayments, monthly only, month-to-month contracts only. And it's amazing we were in the position of power to say, no, we're not. Even HubSpot, we signed up, it's like annual prepayment. Nope, not doing it. And that whole process, we ended up getting what we wanted, which is month-to-month payments. And I mean, we're a SaaS business. They want the business. We still want to do business with HubSpot, and more than likely we're going to be there a long time. But yeah, every dollar that was going out of the business the scrutiny was very, very heavy. And did I mention no swag? No swag, no business cards, no BS. Every dollar we're spending needs to have an ROI attached to it. So that discipline very, very early. I do want to say one thing regarding and again, we're not experts. I think combined, we've started 6 or 7 companies. Nate, you took on some funding, but it was probably more like angel, friends and family type funding early. So I wouldn't consider us experts in VC, but just to state the obvious, taking VC money doesn't guarantee the outcome you're looking for. Just like bootstrapping doesn't guarantee. There's no guarantees. And I don't think, while it's more likely you'll grow faster with just having more money in the bank to be able to make decisions and hire faster, et cetera, that can also be a detriment. I've seen that be a detriment, especially in the world of Shopify and others, where it's you have to put that money. Once you get your Series A, it is literally a countdown until when's the Series B going to happen. So that markup can happen So that is also an area that it can actually act as a friction or a headwind of you try to sell too much in the market, you try to sell too broad, you try to sell things you don't have yet that haven't been proven out, you haven't MVP'd through customers. So that can actually come back and bite you, where bootstrapping going a little bit slower for us, we were able to stay very close with the customer, build MVPs, and once we were ready to really market it, we felt 100% confident that the product worked, and now it hit the value prop, and we could just run and push that and sell it.
Yeah, that's one of those off the record insights and conversations I had with someone who's involved in PE, and he was talking about how a business that is able to bootstrap and be profitable, it's not just what it is reflected on the balance sheet and the P&L that yes, that's great, you're a profitable business. It says a lot about the discipline of the founders. So if your business, if it's woven into the fabric of your business to have a bad cost structure where you start off with lots of funding and you get that nice office and you do a lot of this swag and all this unnecessary expense like you're talking about, it's hard to ever like put that horse back in the barn.
Yeah.
Bootstrapping just wove into the fabric of Elevar to be scrappy, to be profitable, and to be, highly, highly.
I can't complete the sentence for you.
It's woven into the fabric of Elevar to be highly intentional about what
Yeah.
you're spending money on and when you're spending that money. And if you're overcapitalized, you're just never going to be able to have that discipline. And it really works itself out where initially you're spending 5,000 more per month than you need to, and then as your ARR or your revenue grows, you're spending 20,000, then 50,000 more. It just like seeds itself into your company's fabric, and that's just like a very bad way, in my opinion, to start off a company.
Yeah. So quick pros. I'm going to do one pro and then get into the building back from a perfect exit scenario. The biggest pro to me is you have optionality as a bootstrap company to make whatever effing decisions that you want, including your team, and the team can make decisions. So that was very empowering. Just handing over the keys to someone, a department leader, and say, "Go run, fail fast." We're good with that. I'd rather you fail than try to play it safe. The conversation that I had going back to the two combos with two different founders is, they just want to pick my brain on, how was it? What was your journey like? What led you to the decision to exit and sell and stay on, and everything that we've talked about in the first episode. And I kind of just took a step back and said, well, here's a little bit of my why, but they were ultimately looking for insight for them. And the question I ask everyone now, and even when I was coaching in SaaS Academy, going through growth coaching calls, it's like, what is your perfect exit? What's your plan? Is this a lifestyle business? Is it one you want to bootstrap and sell? Is it one you want to raise? Do you want to go public? Do you want to bring friends and family in? Whatever. So it's getting really clear on what is that end goal. And even in this conversation, the two partners, I think they walked away realizing like, hey, this is something that we have to align on, which is very normal. I think you and I, shoot, even me, it took me 6.5 years to figure out like, okay, who do I want to be when I grow up?
Yeah.
So I think taking two things: don't put pressure on yourself to have the answer of what exactly you want your perfect exit to look like in X number of years. It's because that's a difficult question to ask. And two, give yourself space. Like, Eric, who we worked with for a while, he would just tell me, it's like, Brad, I would say like, hey man, I'm stressed. Like every time I'm not in front of the computer doing something, I feel like I'm taking a step backwards. I'm not, knocking off tasks on my to-do list. He said, Brad, your job right now is you are probably a detriment to your team and company by just trying to be a taskmaster. Just go for a walk for 4 hours or 3 hours or 2 hours on a Wednesday afternoon with no agenda, and just give yourself space to think. And that, to me, going back to the perfect exit, is give yourself space to just go for a walk and just let your mind wander. And I know for me, that really helped the decision that we came to crystallize of, okay, like, again, we talked about this on the first episode. Do we want to, take this money or make this term sheet competitive, or do we want to go the route we went with PSG and Buxton? And yeah, it felt very good in the end. But you have to get very clear on what is your perfect exit and align with your partners, because without that, you will lose the guardrails that you are building on. And when you lose your guardrails, you lose focus, and that's going to impact your numbers. And that when you do decide where you know what your perfect exit is, it might be too late to get that train back on tracks. Like you might have to take a discount, because again, you have not been focused.
Yeah, and you and
I
I,
realized I think I contradicted myself. I think I said give yourself time, give yourself as many years to do that, but don't not know what you want to do because you're gonna f up your business and you're gonna have to take a discount because you didn't know where you're going. So take that with a grain of salt.
yeah, the alignment piece is key though, because you and I, we definitely did not define what happened earlier this year when we were acquired. We were not in that state of mind in 2017 when Elevar started, but we both agreed that, ideally for us, we want to build a company that will get acquired one day. And that vision that we shared and that end goal, that drove so many things from us, along the way, not just, you know, 2023 and 2024. We didn't do distributions because we said, no, we want the business to grow as quickly as possible in order to be acquired. And then, in order to be acquired, what are the things that, investors or PE firms are going to care about most? So let's make sure that like those metrics and those things are being nurtured more so than ourselves. And, if we have a good year, we aren't going out and doing a crazy distribution, draining the cash flow of the business, which is your safety net. And a lot of your safety net, that is your strategy or your strategic brain. So, if you've got 90 days lead time versus 9 days lead time, you're going to think so much more strategically about the business. So just from the very beginning, at least being aligned on what kind of outcome are we looking for with this? Is this a lifestyle business where we're going to try to, maximize distributions year after year, quarter after quarter, things like that? Or is this something that we're going to want to build for a single acquisition event? And, that's also going to end up driving a lot of your decisions and create alignment, in the months and the quick little board meetings along the way.
Yeah, yeah. So that's probably the takeaway here is talk like just whether you're talking to yourself or if you have partners, just try to get as clear and aligned and give it time if need be. But if you are aligned, I think that's the other takeaway is if you are aligned on what your mission and goal is, make sure every big decision is you're looking through the lens of that goal, because startups don't die from starvation of ideas. They die from indigestion, from trying to execute against too many ideas and doing too many things at once. And I think that's a very clear guideline to just reinforce to your partnerships or leadership team. Just say like, hey, here's the target that we're going towards. This doesn't fit that, or it's going to take us off track.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's another big piece of alignment is partners and their ability to focus as individuals. So you just address focus as a business, so you're not running off in many different tangents. But if partners are out, got these 10 other investments I'm jumping into, I'm excited about these things, and it's watering down your ability to focus on this one business that you've committed to. That also is going to make it really tough to exit. And it's also going to create a ton of friction along the way because inevitably, founders, we are creative people. We get excited about things. And if your focus and your attention is splintered in so many different areas, you're just not going to be able to pour the energy into a business bootstrapped or funded that you need to in order to like bring something from 0 to 1.
yeah. So I want to take this one more layer. Let's say you are aligned on your perfect exit, and the next step is, okay, who is going to help us get there? And the next part of the story I shared in this conversation I had this morning is, well, have the conversation with your people on your team and understand what are their goals, what is their quote unquote perfect exit for their career, if they want to retire, etc. And I recall one person, I won't name names, but one person on our team, I had a very similar conversation, like, hey, what's your goal? Like, what are you trying to achieve in 3, 5, 10 years? And it was, I want to be able to give back, donate $1 million to my charity, my church, etc. And it's like, okay, great. And I made a point during reviews, etc., to have the conversation of, or when we're giving out bonuses, hey, how's like, where's that ticker? How far up that ticker? What's that climbing man from the Price is Right,
Yep.
that game back
Yep.
in the day? Like, where are we? Like, how are you doing towards that? So to bring back the company's mission and apply it to individuals, and it's every individual, their goal may not be financial. It could be, hey, I want to be a CMO. I want to be a CRO. I want to, I don't know, have flexibility to work nomadically throughout the world. But it's your job as a leader to extract that out from your leadership team and tie it back. Like that's the part that I'm not great at. I'm not perfect at it, but I do think about it to tie it back when you're having your quarterly meetings or annual reviews or your bonuses or whatever might happen. Tie it back to their goals so they can see like, okay, he's listening. He wants me to win, so this is the place that I want to stay at.
Yep. If your end goal is clearly defined, I think it's just going to make things so much easier along the way. It's going to reduce friction with partnerships. Brad, you talked about businesses, a lot of times they dive indigestion or they're choking because they're trying to do too many things. I definitely think that businesses die a lot of times because partners are in constant conflict because their visions change or they get misaligned. So yes, quarterly line on things. Another huge benefit of
And we both
bootstrapping.
have experience. We both have experience with that too.
Yeah.
With the partnerships end up fracturing and dissolving a business.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, partners that are not aligned, I mean, that is going to trickle down throughout the whole business, just like wasting money, partners who are butting heads or the visions aren't aligned, that's going to express itself in your P&L for sure. So you have to get
Yeah.
alignment on that. And that's another thing I always appreciate about Elevar. We kind of backed our way into bootstrapping because we had no other options. We just had to make that work, and you did a great job making the business cash flow. But our 5 minute, 2 minute, 90-second board meetings where, you and I could just send a text message, send a couple voice memos, quickly align, and then focus more of our time on actually growing the business and you leading the business. That was a huge benefit to Elevar versus, every 2 weeks, every 2 months, or every quarter, you've got this like huge board meeting and you've got to like wait to, move on certain, you talked about being agile and it's okay to fail fast. Like if you've got a board or you've got an investor, that's inevitably going to slow things down, even though you're going to have money there to help you move quickly. The conversations, the communications, the meetings are really going to be like, gunk in your wheel.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now I'm in board meetings and we are invested in, we're a joint company and growing quickly. It's now getting exposure to what's a great board meeting, what's a not so great board meeting, where are they helpful? And there's this, I won't take the rest of this episode to talk about this, but I am learning a lot now about, okay, there can be immense value in having quarterly board meetings that are a little bit more structured, where there's more time, more research put into it. And again, honestly, it comes back to just guardrails. Like, hey, is the train still on the track and where we're going? And that light at the end of the track, are we coming out of the tunnel or is that another train coming at us? So risks, like, are there any big risks coming towards us? I really think that, at least my experience so far, it's essentially what it boils down to, but also showcasing wins. Like we've made a ton of progress on the Elevar Buxton side, and it's taking a step back of, okay, we do have some wins. We should celebrate it, which, man, we did not do such a good job at that for many years. Should we talk about the T's, the 3 T's or the 5 T's in the evaluation, and just maybe touch on that, how it ties back to the perfect exit and planning for your business?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
So the 3 T's when you are being evaluated for fundraising, is very common to be looked at the 3 T's of team, TAM, so total addressable market, and then the technology or the product. And then there are 2 others that I think also, maybe these could be replacements or all together, but the timing. So are you early, are you late, or are you right on time? Essentially, is the market ready to accept what you are offering or bearing to fruit to the market? And then traction. So out of those 5, what do you feel is the most important based on your experience and just seeing what others are doing today and talking to other founders?
Well, if you're in the early stage, I think TAM, when you're looking at an opportunity, have you got 5 people or have you got 5 million people that urgently want and need what you're going to offer your product or your service. So initially, I think TAM is what I would look at as far as the opportunity. Timing for sure. I mean, that just matters in everything. Traction for me, when you see traction, are you looking at as like NRR and churn? Is that what you look at as traction?
I would say it's a combination of growth and retention. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And for me, tech, I don't, I feel like as with all the co-pilots and AI and everything, is that potentially becoming less of a lever as far as people evaluating because, now you can have one developer doing the work of 10, 2 or 3 years ago. So I think for me, when I'm first starting out, TAM is going to matter a ton. And then team is the part that is so unique and makes a company very, very strong or very vulnerable. So for me, I think tech, M, and team are the two things that I would focus on most.
All right, I'm going to try to change. I'm going to try to change your opinion. Number one for me is team. I would say close number two is probably traction. And if I look at market, there's so many good examples where Slack created a market, iPhones created a market, OpenAI created a market that didn't exist, and you're in real estate. So I look at you and what we've been talking a lot with, the boutique hotels and everything that's going on in that world. Team A, I don't know, A plus traction where you have some boutique hotels that are doing well. So to me, the combination of those two, the TAM doesn't really matter. I mean, yes, it's probably I don't know if we look at TAM in terms of the county in North Carolina or Boone area, but those two to me you've nailed. So that is like a likely predictor to success versus we're just starting from scratch. We've never done it before, and that it's a huge market opportunity. So I've got to play the devil's advocate here, just so everyone's like, why do you guys agree on everything all the time?
Yeah, we just agree on air. Off air, we're always disagreeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think TAM can look a lot different based on your product or your service. So if I've got a 12-door property, I need 12 people saying yes every day. If if you've got Slack, you can have a billion people saying yes every day. So I do
Yeah.
I do think that changes. Team for me, that has been a very elusive process for me to master, honestly. The business before we started Elevar, I had basically sworn off employees and team building. It was just a very frustrating process. Everyone in my eyes was overpaid, and in their eyes, they're underpaid. And there was this constant friction of trying to motivate and get people to show up and all this. And then, watching what happened at Elevar, the team is what, gave the product life. And, everyone fed into each other and everyone took their responsibility. So I definitely carried those, successes and learnings into the current, boutique hotel company. And it is helping, to help me round out team and build that and grow that. But yeah, I have a hard time when I'm thinking about a product. I mean, even down to the boutique hotels, you look in an area and what you're able to charge per night. I look at that as part of TAM in my mind. Yeah, not disagreeing with you. Just learn about this in these terms really at this point in time. And
Yeah.
as we get into the other side of the table from being founders, and now we're looking at potentially being investors. Those terms do take on a little bit different definition based on which seat you're in there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think team, so I'll bring it back to our management meeting this week with Elevar and talking about hiring because we're still growing quickly, still hiring aggressively. And I reinforced to our team, and I think our team already does a really good job of this, but it's your job. Like my job is to serve you all. So to serve 10 of you. That's my job. My job is to serve you, not the other way around. It's not you, your jobs aren't to serve me. And I want you to take this mindset to your team. So there was one department leader was hiring somewhat of a new manager, and it was like, hey, just a little uncomfortable, not really sure, just need some help through this process. And I was like, if you only remember one thing out of everything we're going to try to teach and train you up on in the next month, just remember that your job is to serve your team, and if you do that well, things will go well. And there's a great book. We've been, every new manager at Elevar, even if they're a pod leader, they are required to read The 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey. It's a great book. I think it's 144 pages. And it is such a simple framework that anybody as a new manager can pick up and implement right away. And we had another manager at Elevar, young, very high IQ and EQ. And he mentioned on the same call we had this week, he's like, that book literally changed my life and how I look at managing and building up other people on his team. So if you have not read that, read it, or just go to ChatGPT and ask for the summary. But yeah, I think that's leadership and training. We'll probably talk more about this in future episodes, but yeah, it's just a lot of his mindset of just, yeah, build a vision, ask what their goals and vision are, tie those two together, bring it back up, have personal conversations. So don't make every conversation just about work of, did you get this done? Did you get that done? Okay, here's the next thing, is be interested, be like genuinely interested in them as a person. Focus on transformational leadership versus transactional. Again, not like, are you done with this? Okay, here's your next task. Focus on pouring into them, again, serving them, and then helping them grow and mature as leaders through books and trainings, etc. Like all of that can just be really summarized and help build a rock star team.
Yeah. So to summarize here, Brad and I had conversations with founders this week, very, very different backgrounds, but we're ending up kind of in the same destination where they want to align with themselves, and they're trying to figure out, do I bootstrap and I'm going to have these initial hurdles to get over? Do I do fundraising? And, the on-ramp into market fit is going to be smoother, but down the road, there may be some more hurdles. And then you've got another scenario where you've got two founders and they're just looking to align on what that exit looks like. What does a perfect exit look like? So we wanted to just bring that conversation here, talk about the importance of aligning it from day one, at least your intended outcome, because there's going to be so many ripple effects and butterfly effects along the way to that destination that are going to affect your managerial decisions, your cash flow management, your hiring strategies, your marketing spend, all of that. So Brad, what else we got here? What did I miss? Any final piece of advice here on this front?
Yeah, if you are getting value out of this, can you just share it on with other founders that you think would get value from it? But yeah, if you're getting any value, just share it. We'd appreciate it. And I think that's the episode, Nate.
Sorry, man.
I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, I can't take no loss.